All right, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the show. Welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. Thank whoever brought you here and understand that we do this every single day. We do not take days off. There's a new episode of this show that comes out every single day. To my regular listeners, it's become the expectation now for you. It's become the norm for you to be introduced or to listen to people that have an unbelievable story, a story that involves resiliency, a story that involves triumph, and a story that involves getting rid of the excuses and all the extra baggage that people use as an excuse not to go make something out of themselves, not to go make something out of their life. So Miss Donna Tashjian, founder of Vibrant Living, has just an awesome story, and I cannot wait to dive deeper into it with you. So with all that, Donna, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ajwan. It is a pleasure to be here today.
Yes, so let's just get things started off right. And we talked a little bit before we started recording because I looked you up before doing my research on the show. When people look you up now, they can assume that you have it all together, right? They can
Oh,
assume
yeah.
that you have that lovely smile that you have. I mean, they can assume, look, Donna, I want to be Donna when I grow up. But it's like one of my favorite speakers, John Maxwell, says, he goes, yeah, when he gets kids coming up to him saying, look, I want to do what you do one day. I want to be an author. I want to do what you do. His question to them is like, do you really want to go through what I went through though? Do you really want to do what
Mhm.
I did? And you grew up in a situation where you had to grow up early. You had to, make some pretty adult decisions at an early age. So you can kind of go a little bit into your background and then we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. I grew up in a blended family, and I remember during one time, our house was included with my dad's job, but he made $2 an hour, supporting a family of 5 kids. And so we gleaned fields, we canned, we had, we did a lot of things. So there was this, we always had plenty to eat, but we worked for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's a lot of the beginning stages. So there was this, and it, without getting a whole lot into it, my biological father, there's abandonment, which causes issues and beliefs about yourself without you ever even realizing it.
Yeah.
So all of this was in play. And then at the age of 14, someone that was close to our family hurt me, is the way I describe it. I became pregnant. It wasn't consensual. And I grew up in a religious home, and this wasn't okay. It didn't matter why. And my parents did the best they could, but they didn't know how to talk about it.
Right.
They didn't know how. So it was just as if I was Mary. I'm just pregnant. And there's no discussion of how and why or any of that. So I'm a mother at 15
Mm-hmm.
and trying to figure out how to go forward and how to provide. I had a little girl. And I remember holding her at 15. You know, remember where you were when you were 15? It's like, just take a minute. Where
I
was I when I was 15?
Listen to me. Worry about football and playing video games. Okay, just so we're
Yep.
clear, listeners.
Yes.
We're that good
You
about
know,
football.
what are,
I was
the
not.
stuff we're supposed to be
Yeah,
doing.
exactly. Right. Right.
Yes, there's this stuff we're supposed to be doing at 15. And does that girl like me? And, all of those kind of things, and hanging out with your friends. And I remember holding my little girl in my room and crying, going, I don't know if I'll be a good mom, but
Mhm.
I can't give you away, and I couldn't end your life. And so learning to be able to figure out how to make it from there. I graduated high school before I was 17. I was full-time employed before I was 18 and in my own apartment. So I'm 18 with a 3-year-old, just kind of getting where you when you're 18. It's like, and I remember wondering, there were times where she ate and I hardly did. There, I made $1 too much to get food stamps,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get help.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of struggle,
Yeah.
and the things that I have learned to get through those obstacles, like you were talking about with John, is the reason why I'm now today helping people to overcome. I call it turning your baggage into luggage,
Yeah.
so that you can have a life you've always dreamed of, regardless of what circumstances may have dished out to you.
Yes.
And, sometimes we cause them, sometimes they happen to us,
Hmm.
sometimes they just stink.
Yeah.
And how to be resilient and how to now in turn help other people is what I do today.
One of the things that was very consistent in a lot of the interviews that I've listened to you in the past, just getting ready for this, was your love for God, excuse me, your love for God and the
Yeah.
trust that you have in his word and the trust that you have in the relationship with him to make sure he's always at the front. Even now, you're a happily married woman. You even said, look, as great as this guy is, he can't fulfill my needs the way God can fulfill
Right.
your needs. And you had mentioned something in your kind of your upbringing in regards to religion, and you made a very important distinction that I think everybody needs to hear and everybody needs to understand is that there's rules which kind of welcome religion, and then there's relationship. Because as you were talking, I'm picturing a 14-year-old. My niece is going to be 15 in literally a couple of weeks from this recording, and I'm picturing her. I'm picturing the amount of 15-year-old girls out there that, go about having sex in an unprotected way and doing it recreationally. And the way we sort of welcome it, the way we sort of make people feel like they're accepted when they start doing it. I'm picturing that girl
Yeah.
and having to develop a relationship with God to say, I'm not going to let this define me. I'm not going to let this circumstance define me. So can you please go in a little bit on the difference between religion and relationship with God and how that was able to kind of guide your steps to the next level?
Yeah, my parents introduced me to God, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
Hmm.
The denomination that they belong to happened to be very rigid
Yes.
in a lot of their, and what I discovered through the isolation, because I was isolated, I was hidden. There was nobody, I didn't have a cell phone. There
Right.
was no internet. There
Hmm.
was no communication with the outside world.
Right. And then not only that,
Alone.
not to cut you off, but nowadays there are resources there. I mean, this happens.
Yep.
There's whether it's Planned Parenthood or whether it's anybody that's fighting for these abortions, like there's actual resources to where young ladies, I sad to say, I've gone and done workshops with certain high schools, and there were high school girls showing off sonograms as if it was something cool, as if it was something that, hey, I mean, I'm in South Florida. This was like in Miami, and I mean, me and the athletic are walking by, like, what, as if it's like something that's a normal thing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. It's so much of a need to really develop that relationship. That's why I wanted to make sure I get your
Yeah.
input on this.
And it wasn't
Yeah,
as it wasn't as
comment.
societally
Right,
accepted
right.
as it is today. And I don't know that that's a good thing,
No, it's a
that,
that helps.
at all. I don't think there should be so much judgment,
Right.
but but at the same point, it shouldn't be that this is norm and that you're abnormal
Hmm.
if you're not having sex,
Exactly. Thank you
which is
for the people that. Yes.
the way that it is it's abnormal if you're not active, sexually active. And that's what our kids are facing today, which is
Right.
horrendous.
Right.
And there is so much pressure during that time. I got the pressure after the fact because now I have a child. And so
And that was
when
it
I
wasn't his
did,
fault though. It was an irresponsible man who did this, and that's the part that fires me up. Just thinking as a man's from the man's perspective, this was an irresponsible, disgusting
yes,
man who didn't have enough courage to say, I mean, you shouldn't be doing that, period. But you didn't have the decency to, first of all, not do that, but then take care of the person, be someone that's actually responsible enough. But we're supposed to look at you like a man. That's the kind of fucking well, excuse my language. That's the kind of role models and that's the kind of bullshit that you put out there for young men to see. So
Yeah.
that was the part of your story that actually pissed me the fuck off when it comes to how irresponsible we as men, as leaders, need to be when we're supposed to be the ones guiding.
Making that okay.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
anyway, go ahead.
I agree.
Like before I go too off.
Back to my story.
Back to your story. All right, go ahead now. Do your thing.
Take a breath.
All right, my coffee.
But yes,
I mean,
and
I told you, yeah.
I went through all of that anger. I
Mm-hmm,
definitely went through all of that emotions that are there, and trying to figure out what to do. I mean, and I developed a relationship in that isolation, and sometimes we try to really avoid being alone.
mm-hmm.
And there's something about, if you will, those desert moments
Yeah.
that really fortify. And then through that, I developed a relationship with God that nothing can shake. Absolutely. I've encountered all kinds of things. I got lots of stories.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I used God's word every day. One of my scriptures then was, "You promised your seeds wouldn't beg for bread."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to figure out how to eat
Right.
and pay the rent and all of those kind of things. So relationship is vital for knowing God, not knowing about God.
Mm-hmm.
I know about you, you know about me,
Mm-hmm.
but to truly know each other, we had to have spend more time together.
Mm-hmm.
Read what I've written, if you will, using that as an example, and learn about each other. And so it's a big difference to me. And one of my quests is to help people to know God.
Man, okay, so when you're as you're going through this, because now I'm trying to kind of picture it in terms of how this happens in your life or how you're able to manage the amount of responsibilities that you continue to still have to have, even though you have this daughter. So you graduate high school, you still again, you don't make an excuse for it. I can only imagine what actual high school was like for you.
I did a correspondence course. I couldn't go
You
to public
can
high
go,
school.
you can even go. Like, why they
No.
didn't let you, or
My parents said no.
so they,
So
oh, oh,
yeah, so I went to what we would call homeschooling, but this was where you mailed your test in. There wasn't internet where you could email stuff. So I did a form of homeschooling, and I have a diploma from that school.
oh man. So that's again, that's this news to me. So this is more isolation. This is again
Yes,
not healthy stuff because you're not interacting with peers your
correct.
age. You're not able to do that. So, all right, you do that, and then you get to the collegiate level and you have your own apartment. How were you able to manage school, work, and raising a child? Like, can you kind of walk us through how you were able to do it? Because you just said, look, I was $1 short from food stamps. So I'm thinking, how was Donna actually able to manage this without just saying, I'm done? I'm giving my, like, I can't, like, to me, I'm overwhelmed just hearing the story.
Yeah, the I was advised to quit my job because then they would put me on complete assistance. I
Hmm,
could have gotten it, but that wasn't who I was.
wow.
So by the time I was full-time employed, I worked for a doctor's office in a medical records department, and I was working full-time. I hired a sitter to take care of my daughter.
Hmm.
She wasn't in school yet. This is still preschool age. And then 2 nights a week, I went to take college courses.
Hmm.
So 2 nights a week, she stayed until I think it was 9 o'clock, went
Hmm.
to sleep there. I'd pick her up sleeping, bring her home, put her into bed,
Okay.
get up and do it all over again.
Hmm.
And so, and then study for those college courses. And during this stage, I had met my future husband. So
Okay.
he was also in my life at this point, and did provide some support, I'll put it that way, and stuff like that. So, but it I guess that without knowing it today, I would word it, I got up every day and proceeded as success was inevitable.
Mm. Whew. 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 That's a
And
powerful
that's the way I live my life. And if you get up when it doesn't look like it, and you
yeah.
don't know how, and you can't figure it all out, and you get up and you get up as if it's going to work out.
Hmm.
And I knew I was never alone. and that God was for me, not against me, even when it looked like everything was awful.
Right. Right.
But that has been a motto of my life, is to get up every day and to proceed as if success is inevitable.
Listen, that is incredibly powerful because I'm currently I teach at a school. I've come from the fitness world, come from the athletics world, and entrepreneurship, just a lot of things I've done. And I run across a lot of single mothers. I mean, one in particular I'm thinking about as you're talking there, the the father of her kids is actually incarcerated, and the way that they actually struggle to just get through a day. I think you just provided an incredible example in terms of just saying to yourself right now, look, we I'm going to be successful regardless. Success is going to be inevitable. And for for the listeners out there, can you kind of, and then this is going to be probably, important for them to understand. Can you kind of describe what you felt, like what made you know that this was the guy that was able to be the one to say he's going to accept my fault, accept everything I'm about, and then move forward? And like, what was that? What was that connection like? Because I know that had to be special.
Um, my husband said when we first went out on our date, he happened to have a pickup truck. And he said, you sat over as far as you could to that other door. And
That's small thing
I,
remembering too.
okay, so I am a woman on guard.
Yeah.
Okay, if you can
That's
get
I
that,
mean, yeah,
get
yeah.
that feeling. I like to have somebody in my life, but man, I'm holding you at arm's length, and I don't know. You know how many guys, this is one of my pet peeves, how many guys tell us they love us and all they do is want something?
I
Um,
know it
and
for
so it
I've and
over,
not to cut you off, but I've actually had to get in arguments with, because I grew up with an older sister, and she was one of the first ones when I was young who told me, if you ever tell a girl you love her, I will whoop your ass. Like she told me directly. She was not bullshitting me. She said, don't you ever tell someone you love them without actually. I was with my ex-girlfriend for 4 years, and she would be the first one to tell you. I would not say it. I would not say it because I my sister put it in my head, look, boy, I hear this, you're
yep,
not gonna be one of them dudes, right? So I would get in arguments with my teammates who would say it to girls, get in their pants, the whole thing worked. Like
yep,
I did it, I won, I got in her draws, and I would never, I missed out on a
yep.
lot of little hookups. Would not say it, and I used to get into a lot of back. So I'm glad you actually
Yeah.
confirmed that. Man.
So
Oh,
anyway,
yeah, go ahead.
one of my mom asked me when I was dating him, she says, so how do you feel when you with him?
Mhm.
And I said, and I just paused and thought, I'm like, well, I'm no longer over against the door. I'm sitting next to him.
Yeah.
But I said, on the way home from the movie last night, I'm like, I fell asleep on his shoulder. Like I've never fallen asleep on anyone's shoulder with any man in the room anymore.
First night. You falling is this the first night?
And no, this is not the first night. We've been
Okay, okay.
dating a while,
Okay,
quite
okay,
a while.
okay.
And so it was all of a sudden, without even realizing it, I'm
Mhm.
comfortable and I know that this man is safe. The first time he told me he loved me, I just said to him, that's nice.
Yes,
And
yes,
he goes, it was a balloon and it went,
yeah,
boom. It's just like,
yes,
well, that's
yes.
nice. And in my head, I'm like, well, we'll
I just,
see if you
I just
do.
pictured it. I just pictured it. Listen, lady, and I hope my nieces listen. That's exactly the way it should be, ladies. That's exactly the way. Because I actually heard, I think it was Rihanna was talking to Oprah on like one of the Super Soul Sundays, and she was telling her, she was talking about her grandmother that passed away. She goes, the guy has to love you a little bit more. The guy has to love you a little bit more because women, they're nurturing by nature. Women, they want to help, they want to be in that. But if the man doesn't love you a little bit more, then it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. So as men, the real ones out there, they're gonna want to pursue you. They're gonna want to, what the hell you mean that's nice? The real ones out there are gonna want to say, hold on. Let me explore this. Now, the ones that just say it back, it's like, all right, I got her now. I'm just giving y'all some game. I'm giving you guys the truth about the
Yep,
situation. So
absolutely. So anyway,
yeah, go.
all of that was going on, and nevertheless, we are coming up on our 40th anniversary.
40 years. 40-year anniversary. And all right, so in regards to outside of just the personal life, were you able to finish school and then build your business? Like, how did it get out to where
Yeah.
you developed the
I
coverage
I
line?
did
So,
I did not finish college. I don't have a degree as far as college goes. I have a lot of other certifications and things like that. A lot of life lessons, that's for sure, because college, isn't really the same thing.
right.
And so, no, later on, my husband, when I met him in the state that I was living in, he was in the military. He got out.
Hmm.
He moved back to his home state, and I soon followed. And then we were married shortly after that. He adopted our daughter.
Right.
And then we had other children, and I became a mom and that kind of stuff. And then I worked for a while. So I founded my first nonprofit when I was 22.
Hmm.
I say it now and I'm like, wow, I was young. um,
The thing is,
but
too, when you don't know that because this is 4 years after high school, you feel old, but now you're looking at like that 22 is a young,
that's really young.
young person. Yes.
Yeah. So just, and all of those different things, but everything I did was always had a form of coaching.
Hmm.
We didn't always call it coaching. In church settings, it was discipleship, pastoral care, those
Yeah.
kind of things. And so I've just always been in that. Probably over 30 years I've been helping predominantly women,
Hmm.
men too, but predominantly women, to overcome stuff that happens. And unfortunately, there's a lot of women that can relate to my story in
Yeah.
some form or other.
Right.
um, and I've heard stories that just make you cry,
Hmm.
um, at the what people have gone through and the resilience that's there.
Hmm.
One of the biggest keys, I want to touch back to you talking about to those single women that you had in your mind.
Hmm.
One of the biggest keys that brought me to where I am today is, first of all, understanding that I am the creator of my world.
Hmm.
I am the creator of my experience, me and God, and
Hmm.
quit relying on a man
Hmm.
and quit blaming. Quit blaming, quit being angry, all of those kind of things. And I'm going to say it because I felt it all. And as sooner you can learn and have someone help you figure out how to forgive,
Hmm.
what is forgiveness anyway,
Hmm.
because that's so misunderstood, and how to quit blaming, how to quit looking for somebody else to fix it. And you and God, or a coach, a mentor, having someone to help you through this. But forgiveness, without it, you won't be where I am. Learning how to let go, how to truly heal,
Yeah.
um, is vital to be able to be the woman that God had really created us to be, irregardless to what has happened to us.
So when it comes to what you mentioned in regards to coaching and having all these certifications and having all these life experience that in some way, shape, form, or fashion uh, involved coaching and helping people get through certain things. How do you coach the forgiveness aspect of it? Because I myself have actually gone into back and forths with pastors about the element of forgiveness and then what you forget, how you're going to forget and forgive. I myself struggle with kind of like tennis ball playing with those two things. Do you forget everything that happened to you? And if you can't forget everything, how exactly can you fully forgive and all that kind of stuff? And I'd love to hear your input or your process in regards to how do you actually go about teaching it, and how is it something that you still, I'm sure, incorporate in your day to day every day? Because you don't, just because you're a couple of years older, you don't forget what happened to you at 14. You don't forget that guy. You don't forget every single moment that it happened, and it takes a forgiving attitude. It takes an incredible amount of forgiveness on your end to walk into this world fully and then tell somebody how to do it that has been through virtually the same thing you went through, and you're seeing yourself like your younger self, and you're like, oh, all right, I got to do it. So speak on that a little bit.
Sure. There's some big misconceptions. I don't know where the heck forgetting came from,
Hmm.
because it's not in the Bible. It
Hmm.
doesn't say you have to forget. It
Yeah.
says God forgets,
Right.
but it doesn't say that we have to forget. And so that, to me, that's one misconception that stops people, because I can never forget what happened, kind of a thing. Is that Or if I forgive, these are some lies, if you will, and some misconceptions that we believe is if I forgive, it means I got away with it. If I forgive, it means I'm saying that it's okay what happened. If I forgive, then all of those kind of feelings. It's like that I'm trying to think of any other statements that I've heard, but all of that, it's like, it means it's all right that they did this. I'm saying that they can get away with this and they don't ever have to pay.
That's the
And
feeling that gets put out there is like,
exactly.
if I'm
And it's
soft, like
so,
friends with them. Yeah, that's the feeling that.
yeah. And I mean, if we use me, for example, if I stayed in unforgiveness, I am giving that individual, that incident,
Mm-hmm.
real estate in my mind for the rest of my life.
Mm.
And I'm sorry that he's not worth it.
Wow.
And so learning that forgiveness is about setting me free because I'm not making them pay.
Yeah.
If they're truly a jerk, because I don't swear, so I'm using jerk. You get the picture. You can fill in the blanks. It's like if
I'm
they're
still
truly
working
a
on that
jerk,
myself, so I guess.
me staying angry will just make them smile.
Yeah.
And so we're not hurting them. God said, everybody reaps what they sow. And you truly know you've forgiven when you can pray that they don't reap what they sow,
Yeah.
that your heart has changed. So the first step is recognizing the lies that we're believing. What are the lies that are coming up as you listen to us talk that you've believed about forgiveness?
Mhm.
Are they even true? Because unforgiveness is me drinking poison and thinking it's going to harm you.
Mm.
And only thing it does is eat us up inside.
It
And
does.
it also stops me from being confident. I stay all my life afraid.
Yeah.
And all of those kind of feelings. So forgiveness, the analogy God gave me and has worked me through is forgiveness is an onion. And I forgive today. Let's say I know I didn't do it right away, but let's pick 17.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 17 and I've chosen to forgive. Don't know if it was before that. I don't really remember. And I forgive to the capacity that I can at the stage I am in my life. And one layer is peeled off of the onion.
Mm-hmm.
I cry. I give it to God. I ask him to take it and heal my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go on with life.
Mm-hmm.
A little while down the road, something may come up again. And all of a sudden I'm angry again
Mm-hmm.
or triggered, feeling whatever I'm feeling. And I recognize it as the Holy Spirit saying, it's time to heal you some more, Donna. Not be mad at myself that this is happening and that I'm feeling this again, but it's time
Happens
to
to me.
heal you a little bit more. So
Yeah.
I forgive deeper again.
Mm.
And that has happened repeatedly.
Right.
The last one happened to me 11 years ago, and I was really mad. Like, why is this happening again after all the work
Context.
I've
Yeah,
done?
context. You were happily married, all that, and it was
Yep,
still
absolutely.
right.
Uh, I something happened and I woke up feeling like that young little girl again, crying
Mm.
from a dead sleep, and God took me through another labor of healing. And
Yeah.
at first I was mad. I'm like, it's been da 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 years, and I just about swore then. I'm like, but God took
Right.
me through
Right.
more healing.
Right.
And
Right.
so when we can be kind to ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and allow forgiveness to be layers,
Yeah.
that it goes deeper, just like my relationship with him. It goes deeper as I get closer and I have the capacity. That's a really important word,
Mm-hmm.
to forgive. When I'm hurt, insecure, angry, you only have a certain capacity to even love. And
Exactly.
as you receive his love, then you have the capacity to love.
Yeah.
And so it is a process. And I have a whole formula that I take people through of walking through what
Wonderful.
happened to you, how to walk through all of that. that I have created for forgiveness, but that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and the one of the things that just actually helped me throughout that is that concept of, as one, you don't have to forget. There was never there was never anything in the Bible. There's never anything out there. Again, that's something that the world puts out there for people like myself or somebody like you that has been through some traumatic things. You don't have to forget. No one's telling you to forget. No one's telling you, look, you got to forget everything and move on. You'll remember, but understand forgiveness, it's going to happen every single day, and that's
It's the way you remember, though.
exactly the way you remember. And
I mean, I remember it
that
when
word capacity, and I've had a lot of conversations about forgiveness. This is the first time I've even heard the word capacity, and knowing how much you can, how much you can get deeper in your relationship with God, to say you're going to mess up. You have the capacity to start it back over and let's go again.
absolutely.
So
And the learning that it is expansive,
yeah.
but it's when I remember, well, of course, I was a teenager, so it
Mhm,
does kind of feel like another person,
mhm,
but it also is with a level of compassion toward myself
mhm,
and the situation. And it just isn't, it's almost as if you're telling the story about somebody else. That is an indication
mhm.
when you've really begin to heal.
Right.
Because it took me a long time to tell this story.
Yes.
Because when I first started telling it, all of the emotions would come up, all of the insecurities. What are people going to think?
Hmm.
Because I was hid. There was all about what other people were going to think and the judgment and all of that. So we have all of these things going on the inside of us. And when you remember with a different feeling attached to it from a different perspective
Hmm.
than, but no, why would we think we have to forget?
Right. And one of the things too, actually, that I've, as someone that actually seen this thing play out, I had a client. This is back when I was training as a boxing trainer. I had a client who was very open. I mean, it took her a couple of weeks to open up to us, but she went in one morning about how her former husband or boyfriend used to actually be very, very abusive to her, to the point where, like, physically punching her in her face, and to the point where if she were to see him, if she's to see him, like, let's say 100 yards away, she'd just start bawling. She'd start
Yep.
crippling up and crying. Like, she was that deep into it. And I remember we actually went out. We went out one time and we were drinking or something like that. And this was like quiet moment just between she and I. And she just looks at me. She goes, "I heard he was in the hospital and got in an accident." And you could sense that feeling of she wanted to forgive, because, and as bad as this individual was to her, if you don't forgive these moments, that she probably doesn't even know I remember that story. That's, I won't put her name out there, obviously, but that moment in which is like, I need to forgive. You need to let that guy go. He can't hurt you anymore. And that's when it took me to where, me just teaching ladies how to box and protect themselves, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it right now, Donna. Like, thinking about how much just putting those boxing gloves on ladies helps their psyche, helps them build their
Yep.
business, helps them get through their day. And that leads me to the next thing I want to make sure we talk about today is your business, your everything your business is about. Like, Fiverr, like, how did it start, when it started. You got workshops, you got books, you got everything, a nice hub for all the self-development, all the ladies out there that need some work. You got it, one-stop shop. So please just walk us through how you started it, what it's doing, how it's helping people. The floor is yours.
Uh, well, Vibrant Living has been in process, I would say, for 30 years, as I said, without me ever really realizing it.
Mhm.
But we're going back 12, 15 years ago. At the time I was in my life, I was working full time as a realtor. My husband and I had a business, and I'm working part time at a nonprofit organization. So I have two and
Well,
a
that's at
half,
that point,
two
that's
full-time
you
jobs.
at that point. That's you. You
Yeah,
know how to
so I'm
manage
I'm
that.
I'm a little stressed.
Yes.
Just a little, just to give you a
Yes.
picture of it all. But I took this job at the part-time job as a supplement, but I did it because I was looking for the avenue to use those pastoral gifts, the gifts that were there for,
Mhm.
because I had been doing some of it through real estate because I was a short sale specialist, which is basically coaching people through loss without
Mhm.
me realizing it in real estate.
I got you.
And when the market changed, I was dissatisfied. I'm like, so there's something more I'm supposed to do. So I took this job at
Mhm.
this nonprofit organization and worked there. It wasn't what God had called me to do.
Mhm.
Management changed. It became really bad, like really bad. But I was holding on to it because I had put all my eggs in that basket, and I'd also limited what God could do through me.
Mhm.
And which, was a symbol of my past showing up again.
Yeah, yeah, it happens. Yeah,
That low
but
self-confidence
it's
showing
coming.
up again.
It's coming there. You got, and that's why they boxing, man. You gotta get it out of there. Get that out your system, man. Let's go.
Oh, so anyway, I was let go and left. I'm like, I can't take this anymore. We don't want you here, that kind of thing. And I felt it was one of those days you go to bed crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what I'm supposed to be. I don't know how this and vibrant living was born out of that really low place when I
That
didn't feel
mindset.
vibrant.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And God had given me the word that I was vivacious, which I agree today, but I didn't then.
Yes.
And vibrant is a synonym of vivacious. Is how the name came about. Is he
Right.
gave me that word for me. Is you are vivacious and you will help others to be doing the same thing.
Yes.
And so I went back to school when I really didn't have the finances to get certified to do coaching as a business, because when I started, coaching wasn't a thing.
Okay.
Coaching wasn't like it is today.
Real quick, I have to pause you there because there's a lot of people that are going to school. You're going to these universities and you're wasting your tuition money. All right.
Yep.
She got very clear on what it is she wants to do. She got certified for that thing, and then her business was able to work. I need to make sure I'm making a point for parents, for kids who just are going to go to school and think that the concept of school is going to solve your problems. Get specific on what you want to do, get certified in that thing, and then make yourself available to have clients and be exactly what it is you want to be. That is very important. So I'm glad you brought that up. So good.
Yep.
Getting certified the coach and do that.
So now I have a wall full of certificates, and not just how to do what I was naturally gifted at, but how to do it with a business mindset as well, because I was giving it all away.
Mm-hmm.
And
That was a business. Right.
what I discovered is I wanted it more for most of the individuals who were getting it for free than they did.
Yeah.
And then you end up being depleted, which is a whole nother topic.
Yeah. We go
Which is
for
a whole nother topic.
listen to me. That
But
one will take us probably all the way to the
yeah.
afternoon. We won't even
So
do that to you listeners.
So I named it Vibrant Living International when I had no idea how
Mhm.
it would be international. And since then, I've had a podcast for 5 years. I've written 4 books. I have a YouTube channel, and I coach people all over the world. Well, predominantly the UK, but I talk to people all over the world every day
Right.
and helping just to know so I focus Vibrant Living focuses on 3 areas. If you can picture 3 interlocking circles, the first one is restoration, and that is the healing process, restoring identity to really who God created you to be, not what has happened to you and not what somebody has told you you are,
Mm-hmm.
but who you truly are, restoration.
Mm-hmm.
The next interlocking circle is revelation. That's that clarity. It's getting insight into there's nothing like clarity to break through all of the fog.
Right.
And the last interlocking circle is redesigning the life you would love. And so that is vibrant living, helping people to do all 3 of those things so that they can discover who they are, who God created them to be, what their purpose is, and how to step in their true identity. I
Mm-hmm.
just did a YouTube video that came out Sunday on stopping identity theft.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking finances. So,
Exactly.
what that looks like and helping people to understand all of that. So I do workshops. Not sure when this will air, but I've had a women's summit where I have speakers share. So there's a lot of resources
Yeah.
but the most powerful one is to schedule a VIP consultation, because wherever you are, I guarantee you, I can help you go to the next level.
Yeah, we definitely got to chat about that once we're off here. Just right, like literally before you, the guest before you is actually a life coach who is right. I'm in West Palm Beach, Florida, and she was on, and we were talking about the same thing in terms of creating events. She has a summit going on in Peru, and it's again a lot of the things that you are touching on as well. But I do want to make sure I ask you this is when you talk about identity theft, how do you teach that in this social media fueled world? Because I would imagine just the thinking of how to talk about your identity, social media is wrapped up in it because you can be one person on social media, then you could be a completely different person when people actually meet you face to face.
Yes. And when I teach social the talking about stopping identity theft, I'm talking about living authentically.
Yeah,
And I use the word living audaciously and living authentically.
right,
And to me, they go together because audacious is a boldness to take risks, to
mhm,
be who you really are.
right,
And that is on social media too.
exactly.
It doesn't mean that I say all my opinions on social media because
Right.
there's a lot of posts right now that I am not commenting on politically.
Oh
That
yeah,
I have opinions that is no, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to
yeah,
change anybody. It's not going to do any of those kind of things. So sometimes we just get ourselves in trouble by
yeah.
commenting on things that are really not going to make a difference in the whole scheme of things as you talk about social media. But
Mhm,
learning to be able to be who you are everywhere you are
yeah,
is what, and I talk about what breaks that initial identity because no 2-year-old, okay, I will preface that because I do know that there's 2-year-olds that are abused, but a normal 2-year-old, they are not shy or insecure. They are confident. I want mine now.
yeah. I know quite
And
a few of those.
somewhere our identity gets broken of
Mhm,
who we really are, and we start changing because someone said, I mean, I was made fun of because of my hair color on the playground. And so it is, all kinds of things we're criticized for that we really can't change. It's just who I am.
right.
And learning to be able to be authentic is the key.
Yeah, I always use the example of you take a black baby and you take a white baby, they'll play together like there's nothing wrong.
Absolutely.
Same ones when they're 15, 14 years old, there's going to be all this nonsense that adults in the world tell them.
Absolutely.
They're going to think there's something wrong with them two playing together. So there's a lot of societal issues, and I love the fact that you just leave some of the campaigning and the commenting on politics stuff, leave that alone because you're right. I was telling you before, I've just experienced trying to battle certain opinions and battle the way certain people are thought. And you're right. You're fighting a losing battle. You're just not gonna win when it's just some people are so stuck in a way that they cannot listen to another person's opinion because they have their own. So, with
If
all
someone asks me,
yeah, good.
I ask them, first of all, do you really want to know? And why do you want to know?
Hmm,
And if we're going to have a dialogue that you're interested in learning what I think, or are you just looking to beat somebody up that disagrees with you?
right. Which
And so, first of all, do you really want to know? And
right.
I look at them in the eye. Are you sure you want my opinion? and
I
then
have no
and then
idea too
why?
sometimes. Right, right. I have
You
no
know
idea
that
what they're
mom
gonna say.
eye.
Yeah, yeah. I felt it myself. So I already know. I already know they get it.
And then why do you want to know?
Right.
I am a master question and I always ask questions that
Right.
make you think. It's like, so why am I posting this?
Yeah.
Because it's okay that I can show my beliefs and perspectives on social media, but we have to have wisdom on actually, is it going to make any difference or is it just causing more
One
discord,
place, one no.
more fighting, more, because it just today it's volatile.
It is.
It's difficult to do all of that. So that's my perspective on that.
Yeah, so I just wrote an article. I looked this up. I went on Stephen A. Smith's YouTube channel and I looked up the most popular videos. The top three were him. The one was him going against Jason Whitlock. The other one was him talking about Diddy, and the other one was a thumbnail that says "You are full of shit," and it was Mark Jackson. You know, three videos that were just, again, black guy going versus black guy. And I want to make the point that, that's the minds of the masses. That's just what is entertainment to a lot of people. And you're right. If you do have a good cause, or if you don't want to create more noise, and you want to actually just do something that's going to help people, then sometimes the wisdom in you has to say, let it go. Let it go, Aswan. Let it go, Donna. I know you have an opinion, but it's not gonna move the needle. Keep focusing on the people that want to be helped. And that actually brings me to the next thing I want to get try to make sure you're on record saying is, who is the ideal client, or who's the typical person that you try to serve and try to help, and how do you help them? And then we'll officially kind of close with that.
Okay. I love to work with people who want more out of life.
Mm,
They have even thought, is this all there is?
mm,
And how do I get there? And there's a level of frustration, even though some things have gone well for them
mhm.
and they've been a level of success. But I know there's more. And a lot of my clients have even been hurt by religion, and helping them to heal through that is another perspective. Not all of them, but I think most of us have been hurt by religion at some point or other,
Yes.
and helping that to bring healing. So they could have a painful past, is the way I word it, but not necessarily. But most of us do, if we're really honest.
Yes. If we're honest, all of us is.
If we're really honest, we do. So helping people to heal and to get to be all that they were created to be,
Mhm.
that's the person I would love to talk to.
Yes. And what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
I am on all the social media, but my best place is my website.
Mhm.
And that is the letter I, vibrantliving.com.
Great. And we will make sure we include all that in the show notes as well. So, Donna, the final thing I do with all the episodes is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. You are a teenager, 14-year-old girl. You're just going through it. You're being hidden. There's so many things going on. I want you to pretend that teenage girl has come into the Zoom room. Just give her some words of encouragement. Talk to her a little bit. Let her know it's okay. And we'll officially close.
I know that you're hurting, and I know that it feels like sometimes, why bother? That life just feels too hard. But I promise you, it's worth it.
Mm.
If you get the right support to be able to help you, the right people speaking into your life. And if there's no one else, there's always God. All you have to do is ask. He promises when we seek him, we will find him. So I want to give you a word of hope. There is always an answer, and there is always a way.
Man, that not only helped me, but I'm sure you listeners that touched your heart just as much as it touched my heart. So again, I appreciate your transparency, appreciate everything you're doing. Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.